Hey guys, my name is Anissa, and this is week 2 on FTM Sweethearts, and the topic is the beginning. So, I want to start off by saying that Xander and I have been together in a relationship for 6 years in October, and I met Xander when we were in middle school. So, like I said before, we didn't start dating until I was 18 and he was 17. But I had known him ever since we were in middle school. So I was like 13 when we first met. And what I remember was that when I met him and even into our relationship, he was very tomboyish. So the way that he dressed, the way that he acted, was very, he was playing football, he did basketball, all these things. So he was always very tomboyish, and when we were in a relationship, it wasn't until 4 years into our relationship that he came out in his transition. So during our relationship, actually, he had expressed to me that there was always something kind of missing, and he really did try to dress differently and really tried to be comfortable with who he was at that time, and it just was not happening. And he didn't feel right. He felt like there was something else, but he really couldn't pinpoint what it was. And we had talked about it a lot throughout the 4 years before this, and it was very difficult to watch him struggle with something that I had no idea what it was, and I don't think neither did he. And after the 4 years, he actually sat me down. He told me, I feel like this. I feel like there's something missing, and I feel like I need to transition. And I actually, I think I mentioned in my first video that I come from a very conservative family. So my parents are very strict, and I didn't really think that it was right for him to transition. And which back then I was very, closed-minded. I really didn't know anything about this issue or this topic, and I didn't know anybody that was, that had transitioned before. So, I told him that I think I understand how you're feeling because of the way that he had expressed to me before, how he felt and how, he didn't feel right. So I told him, I don't think that it's necessarily wrong for you to feel like this, that you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, but I don't know if it's right for you to actually go through the process of transitioning. And it wasn't until he sat me down and we started researching terms, and we started watching YouTube videos of other guys that had transitioned already, and it started to open up my eyes, and I started to realize that, wow, this is an actual issue, and people actually feel like this. And his story was very similar to these guys. And, it wasn't until then that I started to realize that he has so much in common with them. And I know that not, every transgender person has the same story. And then, some of them know early on in their childhood and some of them not. But the way that they actually feel and, is very similar. And, I realized that with Xander. And it wasn't until one day that it really hit me that we were watching a documentary together of this guy that had already transitioned, and he was way past, he had been on T for a long time, but his story, the way from the beginning, of his childhood until, into manhood, I realized that a lot of the things that he had in common with what Xander had been feeling, and it wasn't until then that I would turn around and look and say, oh my God, he's basically telling your story. That's your story. And after that we started researching together, and that's when I realized that, wow, I really have to open up my eyes to this. And I'm so grateful for it, because now I've been more supportive than ever, and I feel like this is a very, very important issue for partners to discuss and sit down with their with their partner, and to actually talk about these type of things, and to be there for one another. And I know that this journey can be a little tough, especially because I actually had no idea, what it entailed, and, the whole testosterone starting process, and the top surgeries and everything. So it can be a little difficult and hard to understand, but I think, just try to research it with your partners, and YouTube is a great source for that. The internet is great for that. There's so many things that we researched together that we both didn't know, and we found out. And I think that, this has been a great blessing for me in my life. It's changed it's changed my whole outlook. And now I'm in a relationship with Xander, and it wasn't something, even this transition, when he actually told me after 4 years, and, I never thought about leaving him. That's the thing. I loved, who it was before, and I've said before, I know when I was in a video with him, I've said before that I never saw a gender there with Xander, and even more so now. And the only thing that I like is that now he feels very comfortable with who he is, and I think that that's the most important thing, because my feelings for him didn't change. I loved him before, and I loved him now just the same. So, and for those of you guys that your partners are just starting to, it could be a little rough, but like I said, as long as you communicate together, it'll be fine. And yeah, I think that's my beginning story. If you guys have any questions, if you guys have any comments, please feel free to ask me or comment below, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching.